This video is about vitamin B12 in plants. I will give you some interesting links below the video and also a table of content of this video. I've got a channel in German language where I make many videos about nutrition and food, and the most viewed video is about B12, and because I didn't find any information in English, I felt responsible to make a video about this topic. First of all, interesting is not whether a plant is able to produce B12 or not. What I examine here is the question, is there vitamin B12 in the plant, yes or no? And the answer is yes, it is. I will give you several examples. I am German, and so I will cite books that are written in German, but I will translate it to you because, well, I have got no other sources. So the first book I will cite is a lexicon, especially for food. It's called the Food Lexikon, and in this lexicon I found there is B12 in root vegetables absorbed by bacteria in the soil. The picture, what you see, this is a picture from this lexicon. The greens and plants we usually eat are so-called higher plants, and all of those live in symbiosis with fungi and also bacteria in the soil. And so it's no wonder that a plant can contain B12, especially the legumes, because they do live with bacteria that absorb nitrogen from the air and they transform it into nitrates that the plant can absorb, and because those nitrates are to be dissolved in water, what is needed for the plant, because the transport system of the plant uses water, and the plant itself transforms or takes those nitrates to produce proteins. And this is one of the reasons why legumes have such a huge amount of proteins in their beans or seeds. And to be able to produce proteins or nitrates from nitrogen in the air, the bacteria and the plant do need B12. The next picture I show you is a container of buckwheat powder you can buy here in Germany. And this is said to be a very good source of B vitamins, so not only B12 but all the B vitamins. And the analysis on the container shows that there is 4.5 micrograms of B12 in 1 gram, in only 1 gram. And if you consider that a daily amount of 3 micrograms is enough, so you can imagine that you only need a knife point of this powder to get enough for the day. This is amazing. There's another book where I found some information about amounts of B12, and this book is called, if I translate it, The Large Book of Sprouts and Germs. So it's about sprouts and germs, of course, and in a table is shown the amount of B12 per 100 grams of legumes. And mentioned are mung beans, lenses and pears. And on the table I show you here how much it is if you compare it with the daily amount you need. So it's only in about 100 grams of fresh raw sprouts that are minimum 4 days old. Although this seems not to be enough, it tells us, and this is important, that there is B12 in plants. In this book I also found information about wheatgrass juice, fresh wheatgrass juice, and I have found an amount of 80 micrograms per 100 milliliters. And this is really huge, because this would be about the amount you need in 1 month. And I want to point out that you do not need all the vitamins that are given on many containers telling you about the daily amount. You don't need all of them every day, because your body is able to store all the vitamins and minerals and so on, and minimum several weeks. So don't stress yourself and try to get all you need every day. And also in this book I found information about sunflower seeds or sprouts containing B12 as well, but she doesn't say how much it is, but she mentions it. On the next picture you see chlorella algae containers I got here in Germany. The left one and the below one you can get in the US, for example. I will give you a link from where you can get it. It's BioPure US. And it doesn't matter what kind of chlorella it is, because all of them contain vitamin B12, especially this very good digestible methylcobalamin, and the amount is about 1 microgram per gram of microalgae. So this means that if you eat only 3 grams per day, you've got your daily amount. And what I found out from Dietrich Klinghardt, this is a German living in the US, he says that this methylcobalamin is very good, digestible, and it's not an analog, so you can use it, because he has found out that he could remove a B12 deficiency. There's another algae containing much B12, what seems to be enough, comparable with the chlorella amount of 1 microgram per gram of algae, and it is in Germany it is called nori, and you can see it wound around the sushi. This is a red algae. And now some conclusions. What I want to say is, first, there are many plants, if you consider all this, containing B12. This is what I have mentioned. Chlorella algae, okay. But buckwheat and all legumes, it's not only about beans and lenses and peas. It's every legume. So all beans you can get will contain B12. But maybe you need to get it in a raw form, and as you know, you have to cook beans usually. But if you eat it, if you eat sprouts of the beans, then you will get no problems, especially if they are older than 4 days, except this yellow one, yellow soybean, because this yellow soybean is very much manipulated in a genetic way, and yes, it's not healthy. So with soybeans you should be very cautious. But what I found out is that the mung beans and the adzuki beans do make no problems. About the wet grass. So what I guess is, well, what I state is that if wet grass juice contains so huge amounts of B12, then you can be quite sure that all the others from this sweet grass family, that is wheat, rye, barley, oat, spelt, maize, respectively Indian corn, millet, and even the sugarcane. All those are from the same family, the sweet grass family, and I expect that all of them contain huge amounts of vitamin B12 in their fresh juice. So if you get dried powder of wet grass, for example, then the B12 might be nearly completely this analog B12, and maybe you can't use it. But there is still another source what we can use, and this is the gut flora. And although they say, this is what I got in Germany, the informations I got in Germany, and they say that the B12 cannot be used, what is produced in the gut by bacteria. Well, but there is a disagreement. If you look at the breast milk and the content of B12 in the breast milk, you will find out that this is nearly nothing. And if you examine the fact that a baby is in the quickest growth ever in a human's life, and there's no B12 in the breast milk, so where does the B12 the baby needs come from? The following book is from a student promoting to get a medical doctor, and she wrote this book as at the age of maybe 25, and it's called Gut with Charm, if I translate it. And she says that the gut is supplying the body with B12, and this means that not only B12 is produced in the gut, this also means at the end that the body is able to absorb this B12, what is produced. So, one more disagreement. So, as a result of all this, I want to say that I'm quite sure that there will be much more plants that contain B12, and what will we get known, so that the question might not be whether a plant-based diet can give you enough B12. The question might be, for example, who's the B12 killer in those people that have a lack of B12? Or maybe is there maybe a parasite who prohibits the stomach of producing the intrinsic factor, or maybe that parasites do steal the B12 before it reaches the cells of your gut. So anyway, the usual information is that there is no B12 in plants, and if you regard all this, we must say this isn't true. This is one thing, and the other thing is that the B12 isn't outsourced on the leaves of the plant, but in the plant itself, in the cells. Yes, and this seems to be the end, and I wish you all the best and take care.